How long does it take to really learn French? This is one of the most common questions I get. And honestly, I understand why. This is because you want to understand what you're signing up for. You want to plan, you want to set realistic expectations. And if you search online, you'll find all kinds of answers. Learn French in 30 days, be fluent in 3 months, speak French in just 10 minutes without doing anything. These headlines are everywhere. And honestly, they are not telling you the full story. But I'm also not going to tell you it takes years and years or 10 years because that's not true either. The honest answer, and you may not like it, is it depends. It depends on how you learn, how consistent you are, how structured your learning is, and what level you're aiming for. Salut encore, je suis Simulua. J'ai appris le français à l'âge adulte et grâce à cette langue, je puis m'installer au Canada. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly how long it took me to reach each level, what's realistic, what's not, and what actually determines how fast you progress. If you want the truth, keep watching. Before I talk about timelines, let me explain what these levels actually mean, because a lot of people hear A1 or B2 and have no idea what that means. The CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, used to measure language proficiency. It has 6 levels. A1 and A2 are beginner levels. B1 and B2 are, you got it, intermediate levels. C1 and C2 are the advanced levels. Let me break down what each level actually means in practical terms, okay? A1. In this level, you can introduce yourself. You can say your name, say where you're from, what you do. You can also understand and use very basic phrases. You can have very simple exchanges if the other person speaks slowly and clearly. Now let's look at what A2 is about. In A2, you can handle simple routine tasks. You can describe your background, your environment, your immediate needs. You can communicate in simple everyday situations. Now let's take a look at what B1 is about. B1, you can deal with most situations you might encounter while traveling. You can describe experiences, events, your dreams, hopes. You can even give reasons for opinions and plans. You can understand the main points of clear speech on familiar topics. Now, let's get to B2. I don't know why I did this, but I really like the B2 level. Let's take a look at what B2 is about. In B2, you can actually interact with native speakers with some sort of fluency and spontaneity. You can understand complex texts. You can produce clear, detailed writing on different subjects. And you can also explain viewpoints, giving advantages and disadvantages. Now, C1. Let's take a look at what C1 is about. Here, you can understand a wide range of demanding texts and recognize implicit meanings and even nuances. You can express yourself fluently without much searching for words. You can use language flexibly for like social, academic, or even professional purposes. Okay, like this is really high. Let's take a look at the final level, C2 level. Here, you have near native proficiency. You can understand virtually everything you hear or read in French. Like honestly, you can summarize information from different resources. You can express yourself spontaneously with precision. Like I'm C2 in English. Do you get what I mean? Or if you're watching this video and you understood every single thing I said in English, then you're definitely C2 in English. I just spoke so fast, but you got what I said. Now, let me tell you how long each level actually takes. Let's start with A1, the absolute beginner level. At A1, you're learning the foundations, the alphabet, basic pronunciation, how to introduce yourself, simple greetings, numbers, colors, weather, days of the week, basic verb conjugations. You get the drift. And by the end of the A1 level, I mean, you could be able to say simple things like je m'appelle Sumulua ou je suis Sumulua, j'habite à Londres ou j'habite au Canada, je travaille comme chef de projet en marketing ou je travaille comme professeur de français, je travaille comme bénévole. Different things basically. You can ask simple questions. You can understand like, basic conversations if people speak slowly to you. So how long does A1 take? If you have structured learning and you're consistent, studying regularly, please, maybe even daily, not just once a week. A1 can take as little as, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. Take a look at this. This is from one of the most respected schools in the world. Like you can see the level that they say here. Level A1, it takes 90 hours or 6 weeks. You can see what level A2, B1, and B2 is. Before we move, I'm just trying to show you what they wrote here, okay? Here's another example from a school in France. You can see their timelines as well. So you can see what they wrote here. A1 to A2, they said 12 weeks of intensive study, which is approximately 90 to 100 hours, okay? I'm just trying to show you this is what French schools in France are actually saying. But if you're studying more intensively, every day with structure, it's possible that you can move faster. The key word here is structure. If if you're just watching random YouTube videos or, playing with an app whenever you feel like it will definitely take you much longer. But if you follow a structured course, practice regularly, and stay consistent, A1 is very achievable in a short time. I mean, you've seen the proof here. It is really achievable. Next is the A2 level. Still beginner, but more solid. At A2, you can handle everyday situations. You can order food at a restaurant. You can ask for directions. You can describe your family, your job, your daily routine. You can understand sentences and familiar topics. And you can honestly communicate in simple routine tasks. A2 is where you start feeling like you actually know some French. You can survive basic situations. You are not fluent yet, but you are functional in simple context. Now the question is, okay, Sumo, we know, how long does it take to reach A2? With structured, consistent learning, you can reach A2 in about 2 to 3 months from zero. Let me show you a real example. This result is one of my students, Aminah. She reached out to me sometime in September 2024. And by December 2024, just 3 months later, she passed her DELF A2 exam. You can see the results here. She wasn't living in a French-speaking country. She was living in Amsterdam, but she was consistent, she was structured with my courses, and she practiced regularly. She didn't miss any class. That's what's possible when you're serious about it. Now, if you're only practicing once a week or you do not have structure, it will take longer. Maybe 4 to 6 months, maybe more. The timeline depends entirely on how you approach it. B1 is where things get exciting. This is the intermediate level. So you've left the beginner level, you're starting at the intermediate level here. At B1, you can travel comfortably in French-speaking countries. You can handle most situations that come up. You can describe experiences, give your opinions, explain your reasoning. You can understand the main points of conversations and media on familiar topics. B1 is a game changer. This is where French starts to feel useful, like real, practical. And here's something important. B1, it can open doors. Do you remember my student Aminah? After passing her A2 in December, she kept going. By March 2025, just 3 months later, she passed her DELF B1. And then something amazing happened. She applied for a job in Côte d'Ivoire that required French. She got the job. My student got the job and relocated. Of course, she had the skills they needed, but French was important. She told me herself that they asked her this during the interview about the French language. Can she speak French? And yes, she had the proof to show them. This is what is possible at B1. You can travel without getting lost. You can work in environments that need French. You can have real conversations with native speakers. You can read books at your level. You can watch French content without subtitles and actually follow along. But please be careful. I remember, quick segue, I remember I tried to watch Merlin, or it wasn't Game of Thrones, I think it was Merlin, and guys, I think I was at just beginner B1 level. I was so confused. So just be careful what you try to watch without subtitles, okay? Now you're like, okay, Sumo, once again, how long does it take to reach B1? If you're consistent and structured, you see I keep using these two words. If you're consistent and structured, you can reach B1 from zero in about 4 to 6 months. Once again, take a look at this picture. Do you see that it said A1 to A2 is what? 12 weeks. A2 to B1 is 24 weeks. So that means you've already moved. That's 12 plus 12, 24. Do you see? And then B1 to B2 is 36 weeks. Are you seeing it? So from A1 up to B2, you can clearly see that it wrote 36 weeks. I know you might be like, really, Sumo, that sounds quite fast. But I've seen it happen. My student Aminah did it, and she's not the only student. I'm just using her as an example here. She did it. With the right approach, the right structure, and real dedication, it is absolutely possible. Now, once again, if you're learning casually without structure, practicing only when you feel like it will take much longer. Maybe a year, maybe more, it will. The difference is, you should know the words right now, consistency and structure. I cannot emphasize this enough. Let's take a look at the B2 level. I always say B2 is where most people should aim for, like, especially if your goal is immigration. And even if it's not immigration, I think the B2 level is it's a very good level where you have a good grasp of the language. At the B2 level, you can interact with native speakers quite well, if not very well. You can understand complex text. You can watch movies and follow most of what's happening. You can have debates. You can express yourself on a wide range of topics. B2 is honestly an outstanding level. It's a very, very good level. And let me tell you what else you can do at B2. You can get a job in a French-speaking environment. You can even try to walk into any pub and, order any drink, chat to the bartender about the music playing. Or you can have a real conversation. Do you get? You could decide to wake up tomorrow and sign up for a cooking class or sewing class and understand what is actually being taught. You can watch French TV shows and follow along. And you can decide to just read French books for pleasure. B2 is where you feel like you actually speak French. Maybe you're not perfect like a native speaker, but at least you can speak it confidently. And here's something equally important. If you're learning French for Canadian immigration, B2 is what you need. For Canada specifically, you need a minimum of B2 level across all 4 components: speaking, listening, reading, and writing on either the TF or TCF exam. That is the benchmark. And if you've been relying on apps like Duolingo thinking they'll get you there, I made a whole video explaining why that won't work. You're like, okay, Sumo, how long does it take to reach B2? Let me share my own journey. I passed my DELF A2 in June 2018. You can take a look at my result here. 1 year later, in July 2019, I took my TEF exam. As you can see my results, I got 3 C1s and 1 B2. So I would say I went from the A2 level to B2 C1 in 1 year. That is what is possible with dedication and structure. For most people with consistent structured learning, reaching B2 from 0 takes about 6 to 12 months. Now, I know a friend who did it even faster. She relocated to a francophone country and attended ILA, a French school, every single day for a year. And she went from A1 to, I would say, C1 or even C2 in just that year. There was nothing else. She wasn't working. She wasn't going to school, nothing. Every single day, she would just wake up and she would go for classes Monday through Friday. Literally complete immersion, daily classes, total dedication, 1 year. And so this is why I say the timeline can vary dramatically based on your situation and commitments. And here's something else I want to say. If you decide to stop at B2, that's perfectly fine. B2 is an excellent level. You can do almost anything you need to do in French at the B2 level. Unless you want to, become a French teacher, study at a French university at the graduate level, work in a specialized professional environment, or maybe even if you decide to open a business in a francophone country, B2 is enough. Most people stop at B2 and that is okay. Now let's move on to C1. C1 is the advanced level. At C1, you can understand a wide range of demanding texts. You can express yourself fluently, without searching for words. You can use the language flexibly for social, academic, and professional purposes. Honestly, C1 is not necessary for most people. If your goal is just conversation, B2 is enough. If your goal is traveling and never really getting lost, B2 is enough. If your goal is also Canadian immigration, I would say B2 is enough. Even RSC says it that once you get the B2 level in all 4 aspects, you're okay. Of course, you want to push yourself further to get C1 for more points, that's fine, but B2 is still enough. But if you want to work in a professional French environment at a high level, if you want to perhaps study at a French university, if you want to really understand idioms and nuance, or if you just want to push yourself, C1 is a great goal, and even C2, but we'll get to that. I took my DELF C1 exam recently. After I passed my TEF exam in 2019 and I moved to Canada, I took a break from formal French study for a while. Life happened, immigrating, becoming a mom, building my business, teaching, but I never stopped using French. I kept teaching, I kept consuming content, and over time, my level kept improving naturally. And then last year, I actually decided to challenge myself again and take the DELF C1, because I kept thinking, do I take the DELF C1 or the C2? But after speaking with 2 or 3 people that are taking it, they said, Sumo, C1 is just okay. You don't need to take C2. And so because I love this language, I can talk about it every single day. So I decided to just get ready to take the DELF C1 exam. Even though I would say it was quite difficult, I was like, whoa, this is different from, this is actual formal study. You have to practice, go through past questions, be sure you're doing the right thing. It was a challenge, but I actually enjoyed it. It just meant I was learning more. I was getting better every single day. I learned new words that I hadn't come across before, and that was, as my friend would say, fantabulous. And honestly, my French journey isn't over. I'm still looking to push myself. I want to get a teaching certification in French, maybe even push further education in marketing, but in French, because my actual background, my 9-to-5 job is in marketing. Because just like in English, where people read personal development books not to learn English, but to grow, that's the same for me with French. I am growing through the language. The learning never stops, and that's what makes it beautiful. Let me briefly talk about C2, the highest level. C2 is near native proficiency. At C2, you can understand virtually everything, every single thing. You can read academic papers, you can write a thesis in French, you can understand every idiom, every nuance, every cultural reference, every slang, literally everything. If someone dropped you in a tiny French village where nobody speaks English, you'd be completely fine. You could discuss anything, philosophy, sciences, art, politics, culture, anything. But here's something also important about C2. It's also context dependent. Let me explain what I mean. Even at C2 level, if someone asked you to explain a French chemistry textbook and you're not a scientist, you might struggle. If someone asked you to discuss climate policy in French and you've never studied it, you might not have the vocabulary. C2 means you have native fluency level in your field, the areas you know deeply, but no one knows everything, not even native speakers. Like I said, my background is in marketing, so what if it's give me a physics textbook now? I understand English in physics, but I'm pretty sure I won't understand anything that is being said there. But if perhaps you were to give me a textbook on literature like Shakespeare, even the English there is different, but I could get by. Do you get what I mean? So C2 is really about mastery in your field, your interests, your life. It's about being able to function at the highest level in the contexts that matter to you. So let me share my my full journey so you can actually see what this looks like in real life. I actually started learning French in 2010. I had a break from school and decided to register for a French class, but I wasn't consistent, and so I stopped. I picked it up again briefly in 2013, summer of 2013, but I stopped again. I remember I tried again in 2014, but then I stopped. And then fast forward to 2016. Yes, I remember correctly. I was at my friend's house in Abuja, Nigeria then. I picked it up again and I stopped again. Does this sound familiar? I was on and off for years. I was learning French, but to be honest, I wasn't really learning French. And you know, I've spoken about going to Côte d'Ivoire different times, guys. I think the first time I went was, and I wish my friend was here to ask. I think it was either in 2014 or 2016. I can't remember the exact time, but I know I've been there 3 times now. And the first time was a culture shock that I really had. But anyways, in 2018, everything changed. I just started to make it one of my goals for that year. I got myself a tutor and I got serious because it was just flashbulb moment. You know, when you're like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just knew that you're like, Sumo, this is it. Every single day, I'm so thankful I did that. I would explain why. But anyways, in 2018, I was at a restaurant and I ran into a former teacher of mine and he started speaking French to me and I couldn't understand anything. I could understand something like, of course, hello, how are you? Comment ça va? Mais I didn't understand anything after that. And he looked, you could see that slight disappointment. This girl still cannot speak French. And I remember going back and talking to my son. I was like, that I really need to start with my French again. But this time around, it wasn't just I need to start again. I actually put pen to paper and decided to plan. After working with him in just a few months, I took my very first exam, the DELF A2 exam that I've shown before, June 2018, and I passed. That same year, honestly, I actually tried the DELF B2. I think I wrote it either November or December. I got 48 out of 100. I didn't pass. I was so sad. I was down. But here's what I realized, that not passing the exam didn't mean I didn't understand French. Like, you know, when you just think you failed an exam, you don't understand the language. Why would you think that? It just didn't mean I didn't understand French. It just meant I didn't understand the exam structure well enough. I didn't practice the format enough, which honestly I didn't. The knowledge was there, but the technique wasn't. And let me give a quick segue to what I mean. When I was getting ready to write my English exams for Canada, I wrote the IELTS exams 4 times. You guys, you can clearly see in all my videos I speak English. I have no problem with English. But I wasn't passing the exam because I did not understand the structure of the exam. That's what I mean by the knowledge for the French language was there, but I didn't understand the exam format. I wasn't well prepared. And so of course I flunked. Then in, I'll say late 2018, early 2019, I started hearing about how French could help one immigrate to Canada. I was like, really? And so what did I do? I decided to set my sights on the TEF exam. That's all. I got a tutor to help me prepare specifically for that exam. Because of the trauma of failing English exams, I had to get a tutor only for the exam. I didn't get a tutor to teach me French. Please, I got a tutor only for this exam because I could already speak French. And so I practiced 3 times a week with him, plus studying on my own. And as you can see my result here, in July 2019, I took the TEF exam and I aced it. I got 3 C1s and 1 B2. Those results got me enough points for the Canadian immigration. And so in 2022, I moved to Canada. And now in 2026, I was like, okay, Sumo, you know what? You need to do something else. I decided to take my DELF C1. And so you can see the journey continues. My point is this: the timeline is not fixed. It depends on your consistency, your structure, your dedication. When I was on and off for years, I made almost no progress. When I got serious, I got a tutor and practiced consistently. I went from A2 to passing the TEF in just 1 year, guys. Like, do you see that? The timeline is in your hands. That's the truth. So what actually determines how fast you learn? Number 1, structure. This is the biggest factor. If you have a structured course, a clear path, you progress much faster than someone watching random videos and hoping something sticks. Number 2, consistency. Someone who studies 30 minutes every day will progress faster than someone who studies 3 hours once a month. Your brain needs regular exposure. Number 3, how you spend your time. Not all study time is equal. Someone who spends an hour speaking with a tutor will improve faster than someone who spends an hour on an app. Focus on activities that actually challenge you. Speaking, writing, active listening, not just passive consumption. 4, previous language experience. If you've learned another language before, you have an advantage. Your brain already knows how to learn languages. You recognize patterns faster. If French is your first foreign language, it might take a bit longer, and that's okay. Number 5, using the language. This is huge. You only progress faster if you actually use the language. I know someone who got a job in Burundi and lived there for almost a year. She came back not speaking French. Why? She didn't use it. She stayed in her English bubble. But do you remember my student Aminah? She moved to Côte d'Ivoire and soaked in the language. She was telling me recently that she was watching Bridgerton in French, and even her husband was like, are you kidding me? Like, her husband could have been like, you've left English now to watch Bridgerton in French. So please remember, living in a French country doesn't automatically make you fluent. Using the language does. And so, how long does it really take to learn French? Here's the honest answer. With structured, consistent learning, A1, 4 to 6 weeks. A2, 2 to 3 months. B1, maybe 4 to 6 months. B2, 6 to 12 months. C1 and beyond honestly depends on your goals and continued practice. Without structure, without consistency, it takes much longer. Your timeline might be faster or slower depending on your situation. But here's what I want you to remember. It doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that you keep going. You guys just saw my timeline. Someone would say, okay, probably someone has been learning French on and off for 16 years now, because like I told you guys, that was 2010. Like on and off, then seriously, that's what changed, the seriously part. And I'm still learning, still improving, still finding new words, new expressions, new things I don't know. That's the journey. It doesn't end. And honestly, I know it might sound crazy, but that's what makes it beautiful, at least to me. I went from zero French in Nigeria to passing my TEF exam, moving to Canada, and now teaching hundreds of students. It took time, guys. It took so much time, but it was worth every minute. If I can do it, you can do it too. Now, if you finish watching, if you've gotten to this part of the video, you watch, you're like, okay, Smolua, I understand the levels now, but I still don't know exactly what to study. What topics, in what order, how do I actually structure my learning week by week? You keep on shouting consistency and structure, so how do I do it? That's exactly why I created my French fluency guide. This guide gives you over 90 topics organized by level from A1 all the way to C1. It tells you exactly what to focus on at each stage. Grammar, vocabulary, skills, speaking, everything laid out week by week. You don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to wonder, am I studying the right thing? You just follow the roadmap. And it's not just me saying this. Take a look at what different people who have used the guide are actually saying about it. This is a roadmap I wish I had when I started. It would have saved me years, guys. It would have saved me so much years of being on and off, not knowing what to study, feeling completely lost. I've linked the French fluency guide in the description box below. All you need to do is just go grab it and let's get you to your next level. So drop a comment below and tell me, how long have you been learning French and what level are you at right now? I would really love to know where you are on your journey. If you loved today's video and you learned a lot, please like the video. It really helps other learners find this content, and subscribe if this video helped you. I post new videos every week to help you in your French journey. Ever wondered why Duolingo isn't enough to pass the TEF exam? I'll break it all down for you in my next video. See you there. Bonne journée.